Well, as always seems to be the way with an inexperienced side, we've got a little bit of an opportunity, a possible taste of success in one competition, and all remnants of form have completely fallen out the window in everything else. This seems fairly typical. Hello and welcome to part 148 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we have a Premier League game against Watford and then the FA Cup semi-final at Wembley against Championship side West Brom. We are one match against a Championship team away from our first major final in the history of this football club. That's kind of a big deal. But as ever, like I said in the intro, it seems to be all the players are thinking about. Their heads are gone. We lost away at Stoke, got absolutely smashed at home by Tottenham, who we knocked out in the quarterfinal of the FA Cup, and then got beaten by Everton as well. They're three games that I think if we'd have lost against Tottenham in the FA Cup, I think we'd have picked up at least 6 points out of those three games. As it is, we lost them all. Nogueira is our only goal threat, which, I mean, that really says a lot. And any hope we had of a Champions League finish is gone for sure. We currently find ourselves 7 points away from the Champions League qualification spots, plus Chelsea have a game in hand on us. So any hopes of the Champions League this year are gone. The Europa League isn't unattainable because we obviously have two routes in. If we win the FA Cup, we find our way into the Europa League. We've got 4 games left and we're only 3 points away from 5th place. 7th might even be enough for Champions League. In fact, it won't because of what's going on in the FA Cup. So 6th, and let's have a look to see what went on in the Carabao Cup as well. Who won that? Norwich won the Carabao Cup and they're in the mix. So potentially a top 6 finish could be enough for a Europa League finish in the league. But I think at this point our focus has to be on the FA Cup, and if we manage to qualify through the league as well, then great. But we've already met our season's goals through the league, which was avoid a relegation battle. We've done that. We're going to finish mid-table at the very worst, and at least we've not tumbled quite as far as Villa have, who just a couple of episodes were 3rd in the league and now they're below us down in 10th place. It is tight. From Middlesbrough in 5th all the way down to Newcastle in 11th, there's only a 6-point gap. So those Europa League spots are very much still to play for, but we've got to reverse this poor form that we're in the league. 3 straight defeats. We haven't had a run like that all season. This is like the Nuneaton of the last couple of years in the Premier League. We want to get back to this season's Nuneaton because, quite apart from anything else, going into an FA Cup semi-final off the back of 4 straight defeats doesn't really bode well for said semi-final. So this is a team we're putting out there today. We've got Vujicic in goal, a back 4 of Joksimovic, Brodic, Holmqvist and Carrascal, with Rwanda, Fazio and Hayes in midfield and Nuhu in behind Nogueira and Kerr. Let's get into the game. We are at home against a team we should be capable of beating. Fingers crossed, this is our return to form. This is the confidence builder we need going into the West Brom game, because West Brom are flying high in the Championship. They're going to be coming back up this year. So they're in form. They've got all the momentum with them, and they'll be looking at our recent league form and fancying their chances a little bit. It's been a little while since we've tasted victory, and even longer since anyone other than Nogueira has scored a goal for us. And we all know that Nogueira seems to be the opposite of Nuhu. Nuhu we've long since established Nuhu is a big game player who really turns it on when it matters. Nogueira is kind of the opposite. He flatters to deceive. He looks good when it doesn't really matter. He got a hat-trick against Everton in a game we lost 4-3, and his goals were never even equalisers. They were goals when we were at least 2 goals down. They weren't important goals. So, yeah, he's going to end the season probably in double figures for goals. He's on 9 goals at the moment. He's going to be in the team for the rest of the season because Jensen's got his broken leg that he got in the last episode. So I would expect Nogueira to score at least once more, but he doesn't score important goals. And that's an issue, because as much fun as it is to lose 4-3 rather than 4-0, it doesn't, in the grand scheme of things, make any kind of difference. So we need Nogueira to get back to the sort of form he was in at the end of last season, when he did score some important goals for us and was one of the major reasons why we stayed in the Premier League. And whenever it matters, that happens. He has a shot and it doesn't really threaten the keeper. Rwanda to Hayes, Nuhu, Noguera, Joksimovic were knocking the ball around nicely. This is how we're supposed to be playing football, and Hayes fires wide from the edge of the area. In fact, we've won a corner, and it's Hayes to take. Corner comes in, nowhere near a blue shirt, but it falls to Nuhu. Wanda back to Nuhu again, and he's running in the wrong direction. Finds Fazio. He doesn't find Fazio, in fact, it's intercepted, and we've got a 2-on-2 situation on the counter-attack, but Holmqvist gets back and makes the interception. It's now a Watford corner, and we can't get it clear. And it's 1-0 to Watford. And our hideous run of form apparently continues. This must be a thing in Football Manager. It can't just be circumstantial. You've noticed this too, right? Let me know down in the comments. When you get a team on a major cup run, certainly a cup run that they're not expecting to be on, they've not been on before. So you get it when you have your first deep run in the Champions League, and we're getting it with our first deep run in the FA Cup. It starts to take away their focus and league form starts to fall away. It's not that I'm playing weakened teams in the league. Looking at the players we've got out there, that's pretty much the strongest team we've got. You could argue Coupler could probably be in for Carrascal, but really, Coupler has played every game since he arrived in January. He's 18. It doesn't hurt him to drop out the team every now and again and get some games into Carrascal. And other than that, we've got Jensen, but he's injured. This is a strong team. This is a team that shouldn't be losing 4 Premier League games on the bounce based on the form that we've been in. This is the same team that thumped Chelsea, thumped Arsenal earlier in the season. They're both teams who are up in Champions League spots now. We are a good side who are in terrible form, and it seems to be purely because we're focusing on the FA Cup. And it's a shame, because if we hadn't have got into this bad form, we actually had a real opportunity to finish in the Champions League spots this season. And we've blown that now with these last 4 games. And that makes me very sad. Come on, let's get back into the game, for goodness sake. Joksimovic tries to make the tackle. It actually ends up going out for a throw-in. And we give the ball away again. Hayes lumps it forward fairly aimlessly, but it ends up with Noguera. He's got Nuhu and Kerr ahead of him, but decides to run with the ball. Beats about 3 men and then just fires so far wide. He may as well have just kicked the ball out for a throw-on when he first collected it. What's the point of beating 3 men and then doing that? You still had Nuhu and Kerr ahead of you. Do something useful with the ball. Fazio makes a challenge, but it ends up acting as a brilliant through ball, and Vujicic thankfully makes a save. Where would we be without Vujicic? Probably in a fairly similar situation because we've got Oliveira, but let's not get bogged down in the details. Nuhu now with a chance to break. He's got Kerr ahead of him. He finds Kerr. Nuhu's now back in space again, and we've got a bit of a break on here. We've got men over in the middle. Crosses towards Kerr. It falls to Fazio. It's with Nuhu again. Forces a save out of the Watford keeper. That is better. We're actually playing quite well today. Looking at the stats, we're playing well. We just need the goals, and it's the goals that Jensen was providing before. Nuhu, when we need goals, we have Nuhu. How many is that this season now for that man, who I emphasise again is a midfield player and scores so often, and it's just a good goal, an important goal, perfectly placed. Nuhu draws us level on the 50th minute, and now we need to go on and win this game. Not even because of any impact it's going to have on the league. I don't care about the league anymore. I want momentum going into this FA Cup tie. Right, I'm going to take off Kerr and bring on Lazic. Just partly to show Kerr that he can be taken off in the 60th minute. He needs to up his game a little bit. And also partly because Lazic does look dangerous on occasions. He's very quick. He's a good finisher. He's just very raw and needs game time. And I guess now is a good time to give him that game time. We don't really have much to play for in the league now. And it's a chance for him to come into the team and try and make himself a star. McAllister's going to come on for Fazio. Swap Hayes and McAllister over. And now we've got 20 minutes to try and find a winner. Or at the very least, avoid losing. I want to put an end to this run of consecutive defeats that we've had in the Premier League. But it is Watford just knocking the ball around for fun on the edge of our area. We don't seem to be able to get hold of the ball. And we're just chasing shadows. That's exactly what we're doing. We are chasing shadows. We keep turning up 2 seconds late to where the ball used to be, and there's just this shadow of a Watford shirt just dancing off with the ball. I don't understand how a team like Watford are able to do this to us. We got a little bit of this in the Tottenham game in the FA Cup late on when we looked tired, and I wonder if that might just be the issue that the whole squad has got, and I don't even know how Football Manager would represent that, because they're not, I mean, their conditioning isn't horrific, Although Joksimovic looks tired. Let's take him off. In fact, Robinson's fit again, finally. Robinson can come on at left-back for his first game, probably since Christmas. He's had like 3 consecutive injuries. But I just wonder if the whole squad are just a little bit weary now. It's been a long season. They've played more games than they've ever played before at this level, certainly. Although with the cup run, it's still roughly similar to a season in the Championship. But most of these players weren't in the Championship. Enoch Nuhu, take a bow, sir. You are quickly becoming the hero of this save. We haven't had a midfielder I've loved this much since the man who got a stadium named after him. That is nothing short of spectacular. And with 2 minutes left on the clock, Nuhu could potentially be pushing us back up to 5th place in the league and, most importantly, giving us some momentum back going into that massive FA Cup semi-final that we've got coming up against West Brom. Please don't concede here, lads. For goodness sake, Vujicic holds on to it. And we are absolutely mugging Watford on clear-cut chances today, although I think it's pretty clear we've controlled the game. We're just not creating the chances, which has been the story of like the last month of the season. We're still playing well. We just don't have that killer instinct up front. And I think it's becoming clearer than ever, even though it's what we were saying in the transfer window last summer. We need, certainly with the Jensen injury, we probably need 2 Premier League quality strikers to offer some competition for Kerr. And we need another Premier League quality centre-back to go alongside Brodic and have Holmqvist trying to fight his way back into the team. And I think we get that, and we are a team that will qualify for Europe next season. But as it stands, we are up to 5th place in the league with 3 games to go. Everyone around us has games in hand on us, so let's not get too excited. But we can now get a little bit excited about the FA Cup semi-final that's coming up now. Just the one change for the FA Cup semi-final, then Coupler comes in at right back for Carrascal, who drops back down to the bench. I've swapped Wanda and Fazio around again. You may have noticed, don't think anyone's mentioned in the comments, but I've been doing that all season. I have no idea which way round they work better. According to player role suitability, they're better that way round. We tend to play better as a team when they're that way round. I mean, I don't think it makes much difference. They're probably fairly interchangeable, but we're going to go with this one today just because I like the idea of having our captain, our team leader, right in the heart of the team and just basically just knocking the ball around to these two. And Fazio's probably got a little bit more running in him, so I guess it does make sense to have them this way round. We've had a little bit of off-the-pitch problems leading up to the match as well, which always helps, although this is an opportunity to show how good our dynamics looks now. But Latka, who we signed in January, we've actually sent him back to Algeria on a leave of absence for a month. He's struggling to settle in the area, despite being based in England for the last 6 years since he signed for Arsenal, but he has had a season up in Scotland. He's had 3 seasons in France, so I guess he's not spent that much time in England. But we spent £3.8 million on him. He's not really impressed in 3 substitute appearances and that penalty miss in the FA Cup quarter-final against Tottenham. We've sent him on his leave of absence. He was already unhappy anyway, and I've actually offered him out for transfer, putting him on the transfer list. And we've had 2 offers of over £5 million for him. So we could potentially just turn him around into a close to £2 million profit in 6 months without really having to play him. So not a disaster, but does mean I kind of wish I had Moulan back. But we'll just have to go without a midfielder in that position for the rest of the season now, because he's got 28 days back in Algeria. He will miss the rest of the season. He is done. You won't see him again because he'll be sold before the next episode probably. But looking at the rest of the dynamics, you can see Nuhu has now joined Wanda as a team leader, and weirdly, I've never seen this before. We don't have separate social groups. We did have the core social group and then the Serbian social group and then another one, but they seem to all just becoming a big group of awesome friends. The Serbians have mixed in with all the non-Serbians. It's just Coupler, who is the newest to join the team. He only arrived in January. The rest of them were here from at least the start of the season, but that's why we're doing so well this year, because we've sorted this out. Look at all those team leaders and highly influential players, and look at that one big happy social group. What a difference a season makes. Dynamics is now our strength again. Let's get into the game against West Brom. I've delayed it long enough with my waffle about dynamics and player problems. What we need to do now is convert our positive dynamics that we've got going on into a positive performance at Wembley. Statisticians, somebody check the Backing the Boro Wikipedia page, which for some reason there isn't, but there really should be, because it'd be much easier than me having to find stuff in game. You lot could just look it up. But if we've got any Backing the Boro statisticians, when was the last time we played at Wembley? I know we played at Wembley in the conference playoff final when Sir Tom Elliott really secured hero status. Have we played at Wembley since then? Have we had any more playoffs? I don't think we ever got to a Wembley final in the Mickey Mouse Cup down in the lower leagues, did we? I can't remember if we've had any other playoff promotions. This save's been going on so long now. It's 2036, for goodness sake. It's almost a 20-season save. I can't remember how we got promoted each year. But I feel like this might only be our second ever trip to Wembley after that playoff final, the Sir Tom Elliott playoff final. Right, Nogueira. What can he do? Finds Fazio via a massive deflection. Fazio fires over. You'll notice on the bench as well, Lazic has now picked up a knock as well. So he's the only player not currently on the pitch who is a natural striker we've got at the club now, who's even close to fit, and he's not fit. Oh, Nogueira! We talked about how he never scores in important games, and there he's grabbed a goal at Wembley to put us 1-0 up in the FA Cup semi-final. I always knew Nogueira was good. I told you he'd score again this season. And he's kind of playing for his future in the team. He'll know full well what my transfer targets are for the summer, and I want to bring in a couple of strikers because I don't think he's good enough. But if he can, imagine if he scores the goals that win us the FA Cup, I might just persist with him for a little bit longer. But yeah, Lazic has taken a knock. McAllister, Wagner, Nuhu, they can all play up front in theory. I don't really want to be forced into trying any of them up there because it just feels like it won't end well. We've dominated that first half. We should be more than 1-0 up. I think there's a lot of nerves on display from both teams here. We've had an awful lot of possession. Neither team has had a lot in the way of shots. No real big chances have been created. And we just need to continue controlling the game. We should be playing like a Premier League team against a Championship team. The one thing missing from that performance is it would be nice to just grab a goal or two more, go into the hour mark 3-0 up, and then we can just knock the ball around amongst ourselves all we like. The problem is, if we are only 1-0 up, and I've got Vujicic in goal. I should have brought Oliveira in. Oliveira's my cup keeper. I feel bad now. This is the first cup game Vujicic has played all season. I'll justify it to Oliveira by saying, yeah, but you had that run of Premier League games. You were owed this. Who do I play in the final now if we get there? Should we be talking about the final an hour in? Probably not. Kerr looks shattered. How injured is Lazic? Injured, returning to fitness immediately. He's got a tight hamstring. He's out for a day. We've got to get him on. Kerr is done. Nuhu also, I mean, he's not playing great. It seems mad to take Nuhu off based on how well he's played in big games, but you're only as good as your last game, and Nuhu hasn't performed today. Cliche bingo. Rwanda's also not playing well. We've got Stojanovic and Wagner both on the bench who could come on in that position if need be. Brodic not having the best of games. There's a lot of tired legs in that midfield. We need to freshen up our midfield three. It's where all of our quality comes from. And I think we bring Wagner on to play as the deep line playmaker. Because we all know a Wagner at the base of a midfield three, that's Champions League winning quality, having someone with that name in that position. Oh, we're going to concede. Vujicic makes another good save. I now feel justified in deliberately picking Vujicic ahead of Oliveira. And he makes another good save. West Brom are going to start to feel a little bit hard done by because they've had two clear-cut chances to our none. They are starting to test the keeper a little bit more. We've really just had our goal and not a lot else. Hayes to the injured Lazic, who tries to beat his man, can't get round him, can't get the cross in, but is continuing to chase down and does win the ball back. Cross comes in, but doesn't make it towards any blue shirts. And West Brom try to build again from the back. Nogueira slides it into the path of McAllister. And Jim McAllister has got our second goal in the 87th minute of the FA Cup semi-final. And surely that is the goal that books us a spot in the FA Cup final. It's a terrible throw from their keeper right into the pass of Fazio. Beautiful touch from Nogueira. And McAllister, who I've got to say has been a bit of a disappointing signing based on how much I was expecting from him in the summer, has just got a massive, massive goal for us. And surely that's it. With 20 seconds left on the clock, there's no way we can mess this up from here, is there? Oh, come on. Just blow the final whistle, ref. Brodic heads clear again. Brodic doesn't get great ratings in games, but to me, he's been an absolute beast since we turned him into a stopper at the start of this season. Perhaps stoppers just don't get good ratings, but he is constantly heading clear, booting clear, sliding in. He's just a proper defender. But forget all that. We're in the FA Cup final. How do we find out who we play? Has the other semi-final happened yet? Let's go back to the FA Cup. Come on, game. Don't fail me now. We play Everton in the FA Cup final. Where are Everton in the league? They're in a relegation battle. Boys and girls, the FA Cup is winnable. So I think our plan from here, the next episode tomorrow, will be the final 2 league games of the season, Chelsea and Newcastle, as we try and find a route into Europe. The door to the Europa League is still very much open, so let's not just focus just on the FA Cup. We'll have the final 2 Premier League games tomorrow, and then on Wednesday it will be that very, very, very significant first ever domestic final for Nuneaton versus Everton in the FA Cup final. Get my suit. Where's my suit? If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.